Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the AI Daily news you need in around 5 minutes. We kick off today with Google discussing its pretty problematic rollout of AI overviews. The Verge writes, Google defends AI search results after they told us to put glue on pizza. Google blames data voids and edge cases for its bad AI-generated search results. Basically, after a couple weeks of bad headlines, Google posted a blog post on Thursday by their head of search, Liz Reed. The Verge writes, the tech giant blames data voids for the inaccurate results, along with people making up odd questions, and doubled down by claiming that AI results are leading to higher satisfaction with search. Reed argues that AI overviews generally don't hallucinate, they just sometimes misinterpret what's already on the web. Reed writes, there's nothing quite like having millions of people using the feature with many novel searches. We've also seen nonsensical new searches seemingly aimed at producing erroneous results. She also tried to argue that many of the screenshots that have been shared around are fake. Now, I understand how frustrating it can be for a product company to roll something out, have millions and millions of people use it really positively and successfully, but then to have everyone focus on the edge cases that are bad. Unfortunately, however, that's sort of part of the cost of doing business. Especially for the global leader in search, you have to expect that some of that is going to happen. What's more, thinking adversarially, there's no universe in which people aren't going to try to break systems. Anyone who's building any sort of AI technology just has to understand and accept that that is a key constraint, that will be a factor in how they roll things out. Now, Google says that they've built better detection mechanisms for nonsensical queries, updated their systems to limit how much user-generated content comes in responses that could offer misleading advice, but ultimately the proof will be in the pudding, and it's yet another challenge for Google to overcome that's contributing to a broader sense of where they sit in the AI ecosystem. Next up, one of the big questions for 2024 is the extent to which predictions of AI election apocalypse via misinformation will come true. According to a new survey, people certainly seem to think that it will. An Elon University poll found that 73% believe that AI will be used to manipulate social media to impact the election. 70% said that it's likely that the election will be affected by the use of AI to generate fake information. 62% said the election is likely to be affected by the targeted use of AI to convince certain voters not to vote. Overall, 78% of Americans expect at least one of these types of AI abuses will impact the election, with over half thinking all three are at least somewhat likely to occur. I think these results actually show something interesting, however. One of the big questions for me is whether people's anticipation of being targeted with deepfakes will make them less susceptible to deepfakes. It's hard for me to imagine that being on guard doesn't help, but at the same time, 69% of those surveyed said that they aren't confident that most voters will be able to detect fake media, and 52% aren't confident in their own ability to detect fake media. Whatever happens this year will set the baseline for our expectations for AI and elections going forward. Over in markets, a really interesting thing this week, which probably deserves a full episode soon. Reuters writes, Salesforce plummets as weak forecast sparks concerns of AI competition. Salesforce is down about 20%. And nominally the cause was its lower ever quarterly revenue growth forecast, but the underlying cause were fears that high interest rates and rival AI offerings were hampering demand. Indeed, Morgan Stanley analysts said, weak bookings in Q1 further test investor patience as the Gen AI innovation cycle has yet to inflict top-line results and now increasingly becomes a point of competitive concern. In other words, so far, Wall Street isn't necessarily seeing huge impact of AI on the bottom line, at least not with these professional services companies. It's showing up more in cloud companies. And on top of that, AI competition against traditional SaaS is becoming more of a focus. This could be a big and important theme going forward, so it's something we're definitely going to watch. Lastly today, something that is absolutely going to get a full episode next week. You might remember those viral AI-generated South Park clips from last year. Well, now the studio behind that, Fable, has announced a streaming platform they call Showrunner that allows users to create their own content. The Hollywood Reporter sums up the feeling of the entertainment industry about this with a headline that reads, Hollywood Nightmare? I think that this is actually an early piece of evidence of something that I am tracking closely, which is a bet that in the future, entertainment becomes hyper-personalized and the ability to create more things faster leads us to have an even more segmented content and entertainment landscape where we are in control of basically endlessly remixing the IP that we like into a never-ending playlist of stories that suit our interests and moods. We'll dig more into that next week, but for now, that is going to do it for the headlines. Up next, the main episode.